so many people get stuck in that vicious circle of what's everyone else around me doing?
What can I do differently?
Yeah.
Did I have those negative limited beliefs today? I love my business, but it needs to get more efficient. Well, how can it get more efficient? And then you start to think about it. I'm going to make a bunch of money trading. I'm just going to start to do it. Profits could double by you doing nothing different. Idea is making your money work for you.
With very little changes.
Good.
We can maybe go on a vacation at the end of the year.
It's never, ever, ever too late to start.
Episode 2.
Yes, we're here.
Freedom and Wealth Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. We have a jammed-packed docket this week. We're going to make sure you stay around because we're going to touch on the number one trait across the board that will make you, or at least assist with you becoming a successful trader and succeeding in this industry. So stick around for that. I want to get your opinion on something right out of the gate here.
No. Already? We're going right at it?
That is a little controversial, I think.
No.
But there's a lot of opinions floating around the internet right now about money.
I feel like I should be prepared for this.
And money being not real. It seems to be a subject that a lot of people are talking about and have a lot of opinions, as I mentioned. But the simple concept that if I pull out my wallet, I don't have money on me right now, but
Neither do I.
Let's just imagine I have.
Who has cash anymore?
Exactly.
Right.
But that's part of the argument, right? If I pulled out my wallet and put a 20 down on the table.
Right. 4-star.
Who cares? 100 down on the table, whatever.
Right.
The actual value, physical value of that piece of, I don't even know what it's made of anymore. Plastic, I think. It's not even.
Because you can't light it on fire or something?
It's not
Canada?
paper.
There's something about the chemical on it?
Exactly. Like the material, whatever.
Right. So that probably, the $20 bill probably cost 40 cents or something.
Exactly. So the actual physical value of that item is actually zero. But the monetary value.
At least our dollars have like nice colors on them. The 10 is purple.
It's like they
the blue is
crayon
blue.
them in so they're a little bit more.
Right. Maybe that's why they do it, so that we try to collect more of it.
You never know. But the value in money itself is derived simply from the trust and the agreement that society seems to place upon currencies, whether it be ours, whether it be USD, whatever you're trading in. The physical value of that is actually not that much.
Yeah. I mean, that the whole point is that we live in a society where we are consumers of goods. And how are we going to purchase these goods if we don't swap out with some money? But you're 100% right. We're stuck chasing this item that potentially isn't anything to hold. It's everything right now. I mean, if you look at technology, everything is passed through bank wires and everything like that. And we value what we hold and what we own to a financial instrument that has been developed by federal banks, Bank of Canada, the Federal Reserve. They just print money every single day.
Yeah.
So is it actually worth something? We talk about stuff like Bitcoin and things like that, where they only have 21 million minted coins as a possibility. Well, that's that when that's over with.
Exactly.
Then that actually might have a value.
Yeah.
If we ever stop finding more gold, then maybe that goes up because, again, it's a resource that is sparse. But yeah, I mean, I think the internet's right about all of this. Let's actually think about what is money? Is it real at all? I mean, what are we valuing this on? If all of a sudden Canada has a political situation, next thing you know, our dollar gets crushed. How is that fair to somebody like yourself, like myself, that has our money saved up, and all of a sudden we're just sitting in cash that just got eroded by 30%? It does put to the fact that maybe instead of investing in simple money, we invest in potentially real estate, things like I just mentioned, assets, gold. So yeah, I think people are right thinking about, hey, why are we trusting so much in things that are simply made out of
thin air?
I was going to say thin air.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you finished that.
Let's say it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's thin air, but there's a lot of work involved in it. It's not like it's just out of nowhere.
Yeah. No, but if you go to the bank and you want to buy a car, you want to buy.
Did you watch Hamilton? The play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he created all the currency and everything like that.
Exactly.
Fiscal policies.
Exactly.
It's just.
But if you go to the bank and you sit down across the table just like this and you
Right.
say, "Hi, Mr. Banker, I would
Right.
like X amount of money to purchase said asset.
Mm-hmm.
They say, sure, no problem. They turn to their
Right. Let's see the
magic
assets.
keyboard and they go like this for 5-10 minutes. And then
Takes that long?
poof,
Yeah.
guess what? You have money.
Boom.
Just like that. There isn't like a magic
that's-
guy in a suit that comes in with a duffel bag and put it on the, table.
But I think that's why this podcast is so key, because that is what you can actually do that.
Yeah.
When you actually have assets, you can go in there and borrow against the assets that you currently have. And then all of a sudden, yeah, just like you just said, I might have $1 million property or something like that. You could leverage that to get $1 million more. Now, all of a sudden, you have $2 million.
Exactly.
So that $1 million is just given to you based on something that you already own as collateral or something like that. So I just feel that, yeah, this real money stuff, it's an interesting topic and something to be considered, especially if you're like little nervous about what's happening right now. Oil, and I don't want to get too macro on this, but the world sometimes can be a very, very scary place. And you have to understand that it is all kind of built on a house of cards if we're talking about financial stability as far as money is concerned.
You started this off by saying no one carries money around anymore.
No.
So is there actual value in the physical being of money, or is it simply a matter of debt?
Right. I think it's a matter of debt.
Exactly.
I mean, I think there's a lot of, we talk about Elon Musk all the time, sitting there and saying, oh my gosh, I'm just going to go buy X, Twitter, right? And then they go, okay, well, everyone puts their hands up because they're willing to back him and give him that $50 billion because they simply look at his trading account and see that he owns, I'm going to throw out a number, I don't know, 100 million shares, whatever it is, of Tesla.
Yeah.
And therefore they say, okay, let's leverage that, And again, so he owns shares of Tesla. I mean, that's another thing that goes up and down with market. So all of a sudden he takes risk in the stock market, but then can get a fixed, loan for $50 billion to buy something against his assets. Well, maybe he's only paying 2, 3, 4, 5%, something like that on that $50 billion. But guess what? Tesla can move 2 or 3, 4, 5% in an hour, in a day.
Right.
So he can make even just those interest payments super quick just by leveraging stuff that he already has and still keeping that capital working.
A lot of people may reference this as quote unquote soft money, money that is, it's essentially the difference between a liquid asset and something that is not liquid.
Right.
And being able to, as you said, go to the bank as Elon Musk and say, hey, look, I have 100 billion worth of Tesla shares.
Right.
Mind if I take...
What can I do with it?
Yeah, mind if I take a couple hundred milli over here on a loan to buy something that I want to buy?
Or not even that. You can use that as investment, purposes.
Exactly.
Let's just say he wants to get into, like he's doing, Starlink or something like that. We just heard the other day that he's investing now. He's sending chips that were supposed to be for Tesla over to XAI.
Yeah.
So it's like right there. He's leveraging funds from Tesla and the power that he has operating that business to get now chips into a brand new business. So Brendan, it just goes to show you can diversify your portfolio with different assets by leveraging one against the other. If your stock portfolio is $400,000 or $500,000, $5,000, whatever it is, you can take that money and then say, okay, you know what? Now I'm going to go in and potentially buy real estate with that, and start to say, okay, where's that loan coming from? Where am I getting this? And that's that soft money. It's money that's there based on current assets that you already have.
Yeah.
There was an example there that we had looked, what's the best way if I gave you $1 million right now to turn that $1 million, you only had 1 month to do it. You have to turn it into 2 million. So you could gamble it, right? We just go there. Jay's going to win tonight, plus 100 or whatever, 1-to-1. But if you lose, you're done. That's it. You lose $1 million.
One shot.
That sounds like gambling to me. You could invest in businesses. That's great, but that takes more than a month to build.
Sure.
Right? You could invest in the stock market.
Unless you're Elon.
100% gains don't happen too often. But what you can do is take that money and do exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Deposit it into your savings account. Go to somebody, show them. Just go print off the receipt. You don't even have to go to a banker. Probably not even a bank.
Yeah.
Go to Brendan.
Screen snap.
Yeah, exactly. Screenshot it. Will that work? You might have to go to a bank. And then you show them, and they'll be like, oh, my God, you have $1 million in the bank cash? All right, we'll loan you another $1 million against that and charge you whatever that going rate is. So right there, Brendan.
You doubled your money.
You just doubled your money. So now you have $2 million in the account. And what are you going to do with that? Now, if you have an idea that you can gain more than 4, 5, 6%, whatever that rate they're giving to you is, then you turn it all around and then the fun begins. So that's real soft money. I just think that there are advantageous opportunities with investing this way.
Did you have an experience in life where that came right on your doorstep, right in your lap, and
Yeah.
you had to purchase something, you had to go to the bank, you had to have
Right.
that conversation with the banker and say, hey, Mr. Banker,
Right.
how much am I good for?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much, yes. So
Yeah.
the thing is, I actually got really good advice when I was at a younger age, and it probably was my father, to be honest with you. And I actually had a credit card at like 15 or 16 years old. And that taught me responsibility, but it also started to grow the credit score.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is key.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I would, handle my own, because I was working a summertime job and everything like that to save up for university and whatnot. Again, getting caught in that, rat race of going to university. But yeah, knowing that I'd have student bills and all that. So anyways, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I knew eventually I wanted to move out. So this is where the story is going. Started trading right away, immediately out of school. But then trading on a prop floor, there was no upfront income. So to be able to show whatever I had in my bank account and whatever my job was, completely two different numbers, because my salary is based on how I traded.
Exactly.
So that was up and down. So banks don't like that.
No.
They like the consistent, you're making $5,000 a month or whatever it is. This is 25 years ago.
Yeah.
What are you making? But because I had worked up during summer my whole life, my parents had helped me through school.
Yeah.
I was able to save a little bit. Plus, I had the good credit score, and I was managing everything myself. I wanted to move out of the house. So after I think it was a year and a half of living at home and trading, and was able to save a little bit more. All right. But I still needed that extra little bump. I was lucky enough to have something in my account. And then, I went into the bank, the same bank that I've been banking with since high school. They had seen all of my transactions. And actually, I can't remember what the rules were, but I wound up buying a 200, and this is dirt cheap. Okay, it was right on.
We're going to
Bush
age
Street.
ourselves. No, we're going to age ourselves.
Yeah. But
Because
a
let's be honest, it wasn't then.
No,
no,
it was a
was-
risk
yeah,
at this point. Like
yeah.
it's not like this was. So the building was built, and there was a few extra units that someone had either backed away from or whatever. And I was lucky enough to basically take residence in a couple months.
Yeah.
Move right in there. Long story short, all I had was $40,000 in the bank saved up, and I was able to put that down to qualify for a mortgage.
Yeah.
Right, and leverage that into buying. And I think it was $237 or something for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, something like that. But it fit what I needed, and I was treating it as an investment.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is, because I was banking and I was trading, and I'd been starting to build up a 401k here in Canada, RRSP, when I started working as a kid again. So again, just by doing this, I also had money in these accounts as well. So using that as assets, being able to back out the original pay, you're able to get that mortgage rate. And back then, thankfully, it wasn't too expensive. You're looking at 1, 2, 3%, something like that.
Yeah.
So then there you go. And then we saw a huge boom in housing prices. And the next thing you know, that $40,000 that I had down payment for the place, I sold the condo in about a year and a half, something like that, for $3 and change.
Yeah.
So just by paying $230, right, using that 40, I was able to use that 40 then not only get utility out of my place, because I lived there, convenient, living downtown, right where I worked, also able to turn that $40,000 into profit of 100 or something. So that 40 turns into 60 in a year and a half. I took basically no risk other than buying the house that I wound up living in.
Yeah.
So just by starting out early, and I had that advantage of being able to invest early on in life, have something there so that when you go to Mr. Banker Man, and sure, you know what? I was probably lucky enough that if I needed a cosign or something like that, that would have probably been able to happen. But the fact is we had enough assets to back up that mortgage against a property. So the banks like that too.
Yeah.
Because you don't pay it, they'll just take that.
Exactly.
So you start somewhere. And then after that, this is just rolling forward. It all starts from $40,000.
Yeah.
Then we take this $300,000 that I sell and put that into a bigger house, getting married, having kids, so on and so forth. And then that house is now appreciated into value. And that $40,000 is now turned into at a zero,
Yeah.
something like that. You know?
Yeah, and if you zoom out, that was 10, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
whatever. Over time, it ends up being what people expect. But the key is here, and I want to make sure everybody understands, to start, and that's what we
Right.
keep going back to. You have to start. I have an almost identical
I was gonna say
story.
You probably
And
everyone's a property story. I
it's-
feel like no.
It's interesting because the amount I started with, the amount of the first purchase, the amount of the second purchase. I mean, this again, we're dating ourselves. We're
Right.
very close in age, so that's the way things were during that time. I bought a townhouse
Mm-hmm.
with, I think it was actually $37,000 was the total
Come on,
amount.
like so
No, no,
close to what I was.
I'm
doing.
not even
That's
joking.
Hilarious.
I remember very clearly going into the bank, same thing.
Right.
Bank I'd been with for 15 years, 20 years at that time, whatever it was, sitting across the table just like this from a banker.
With mics in front of you.
And he said, no, there's no mics at that point. And he
That you
basically
knew
said,
of.
here's what we can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had option B that said, here's what we can do if your lovely mother, who was there with me,
Right. See what I'm saying?
just puts her signature
She did,
underneath
right? Or-
yours. She actually did
Good for her.
on the first one. So regardless of the way that I think anyone goes about doing it,
Mhm.
it's a matter of getting started
And understanding.
and understanding. And long story short, for me, in a matter of, I think it was 5 years, I went through 3 different places in 5 years, because during that time, and you'll probably remember
Yeah,
this
why
as
so
well,
many?
value of property was doubling in
Oh,
12
you just kept
months.
turning it over.
I
But then
just
you have-
kept. I
What
was
about all
so-
those fees?
I had, and I actually did the math later on.
Right.
But I mean, when you're in your 20s and have no kids and
Yeah.
no partner, I had no ties to
Right.
the place I was living in. I was like, I didn't care where I lived.
Right.
I just saw the value around in the
Like, I
neighborhood.
can't believe I just made it that quickly.
Exactly.
But then when you flip, don't you have to then pay current market price again? So
Exactly, though. But I actually did the math. This is a roundabout story, but I actually did the math not too long ago,
yeah, you told me this.
based on if I had just bought that first townhouse
Mm-hmm.
in an area called Maple here, just north of
Yep.
of the GTA.
Great area. Shout out to my Italians.
I'm not even kidding. It was 180
Yeah.
at the time of when I bought it. You go there now, they're over $1 million.
Oh, a million.
If I had just
Chop the
bought
house
that
in half.
townhouse, held
Stayed
it for this
there.
entire
Yeah,
time,
maybe you wouldn't be working.
you know what
here,
the
though.
difference is? Lawyers and real estate.
Yeah.
That's essentially the difference.
I actually
of-
tell my kids be lawyers.
No, but like I'm down
Oh, yeah.
the cost of real estate agents and lawyers over that time. That's it.
So you know what? Actually, this is actually a perfect point to what you brought up. Sometimes we outthink ourselves.
Exactly.
And if we just follow simple kind of compounding, different things like that, going through it, all of a sudden that $1,000 becomes, and we'll get into this, becomes more and more and more. And then if you just leave it and you're able to go, and the next thing you know, it's funny that you did that math. But you know what? I mean, real estate and buying and selling property is right place, right time.
Exactly.
Right people.
And then
right-
holding it. It's
Yeah.
like if you're going to invest in the stock market, if there's 100 million
Right.
different ways of actually going about doing it, but buying Apple, adding to it every single year for 25 years, is probably a decent return at the end of that.
Well, yeah, we had that story with
Trying-
Warren Buffett.
Exactly. Trying to trade in and out of Apple
Mm-mm.
every single day, being flat at the end of the day,
Yeah, trust me.
hell of a lot more challenging. But
And stressful. We talked about looking at our
our heart rates before we
when
came on
we're
here.
trading.
Yeah, you mentioned interest.
Right.
Interest from both a monetary standpoint, but also from a personal growth and business standpoint, is a very interesting topic and ties into, I think, exactly what we're trying to relay here.
Mhm.
And that is compound interest. You can look at it from the standpoint of, I want to change myself, and change in general is very hard and challenging.
Mhm.
But if you break it down to, I'm just going to do one thing different every single day
Mhm.
for the first 6 months, let's say,
Right.
all I'm going to do is, I mean, we talked about it the last episode, going to Starbucks
Right.
and buying a $7 flat white. If I just didn't do that
Right.
every single day for the next 6 months,
Right.
the financial outcome at the end of that is going to be significantly better
Mhm.
than if I did. life experience wise, not necessarily the
Right.
same, but compounding interest from a monetary standpoint can also be
But the best part
huge.
about compounding interest from a monetary standpoint, and I like your example there, it doesn't change your day-to-day habits or your day-to-day lifestyle because you're not doing anything. When you give up that flat white, Brendo, then you lose the
The
utility
life
of
experience.
drinking it.
Yeah.
And that's something,
Yeah.
might be worth 7
There's
to
value
you,
in
2 to
that.
others,
Sure.
0 to somebody else. But thinking about compound interest, what this is for everybody listening is just you can deposit money. It's basically getting money for giving money.
Right.
And it's saying, here, Mr. Banker, or here, whomever, here's $1,000 at 5%. They will then hold your money for whatever the duration is. You could do monthly, and the quicker the duration, the more you're going to compound, pay you out that 5% monthly, weekly, semi-annually, annually. And what that is they hold your money and say, at the end of this all, you will have 5% more than what you gave us.
Right.
So if you're talking about on a year basis on 5%, you deposit $1,000, that's $50. So that next year at this time in June, you will have $1,050. So that's fine. We understand that. That's just one. But the idea is compounding it. So then all of a sudden, that $1,050 now starting today, that now all $1,050 gains 5%.
Right.
So now you're getting $250 more. So now you're getting $52.50 or $53 the very next year as it continues to go and go and go. And the next thing you know, it starts to blow up. 5% over 10 years, compounded monthly, never touching that 5,000. What do you think? 5%, 5,000. So you put in $5,000 today. Today.
Yeah. What's the total?
Brendan, not tomorrow, Brendan.
Today.
Today.
Wait, I'll be back.
8,200.
In 10 years?
Yeah. Compounded monthly.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
That's great.
Yeah.
No, because you got to think about it like a lot of us panic. It's not panicking, but we say, what are we going to do with our kids? The cost of education continues to go higher. The cost of food. We talk about inflation. All of this stuff continues to go higher and higher and higher. If you're able to grab something, put it away, then just start building, let alone adding to that 5,000.
Consistently. That's
and that goes to your other point there
Yeah.
about doing something maybe daily.
Yeah.
Maybe you add 100 a month
Yeah.
into this.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're compounding less than if you added it all together, but you're still adding it and you're adding and adding and adding. And the next thing you know, after 10 years of you doing absolutely nothing, close your eyes, like throw that bank card in the garbage and just maybe don't do that, put it somewhere, and then find it in 10 years, and that's the math. Math is what it is. So that's how you can do that from a monetary and financial side of things.
And make sure you don't get some random guy in Miami swiping your credit card.
Right.
At a Harvey's.
Do not trust the guy to buy Bitcoin with this $5,000.
It's $300 on my Visa this week.
I know you said that.
That was just like random.
You're lucky that you found that because that would just disappear.
Dude, the guy was like, apparently they swipe it to authorize it.
Right, and then they just go.
And then once it's on, they just $5, $5, $5.
But with AI and stuff like that, they're so stupid.
It's unreal.
Like why would Visa? I'm not going to throw out a name because I don't know who it is. But
No,
why
it's
would
Visa.
why would it? Okay.
But
why would a credit card company allow those to continue to go through?
Exactly.
That's
It took
annoying
them
as hell.
It was May 23rd. It took them almost a month.
Like, do you swipe $5 transactions all the time, Brendan? What are you going to get the
Never.
$5 fill up at 7-Eleven or something?
I mean, I don't know about you, but I go to Harvey's in Miami all the time.
I order from Uber Eats.
Like,
you get on that helicopter.
Anyway.
Bring it. Hamburgers taste better in Miami. I was there. They're really good. Honestly, they're really. I think I went to my first In-N-Out burger in Miami. And is that what it was? I can't remember but it was a franchise that we don't have here.
Yeah.
And it was highly recommended. Someone actually noticed me in line there. I was really actually surprised about that. That was a long time
I
ago.
want to talk about from a business standpoint.
Right.
I had a conversation with a salesperson. Well, they'll remain nameless.
They still exist?
They still exist. Simple things that you can do from a business standpoint can compound over time.
Right.
Sales, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in the business of contacting people and my job is I need to reach as many people as possible who potentially could find value in what I'm selling. At the end of the day, that just becomes a numbers game.
Right.
If
Like
I
dating.
if I today come in and say I'm going to contact 100 people,
Mm-hmm.
if I then tomorrow say I'm going to contact 101 people,
You have a big Rolodex.
and then just do that compounding over time, the amount of return I get from
Mm-hmm.
increasing the amount of outreach I'm doing over
Right.
time
Right.
produces a bigger end result at the end of that. So from a life standpoint, I mean, we talked in the last episode a little bit about health
Right.
standpoint.
I think that's an important one.
Really, really small changes can
Mhm.
be
Yeah.
massively
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
beneficial over a short amount of time. From a business standpoint, from a monetary standpoint, compounding interest is really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to compound your habits, and I think that that's something that's very
Huge.
important, and you're learning, right?
Huge.
Because it's like we could sit here and say right now, I have a business, I love my business, but it needs to get more efficient. Well, how can it get more efficient? And then you start to think about it. Maybe if someone knew coding or something that you were working with, but why don't you just learn coding?
Exactly.
So the thing is like you could go out, and if you have enough money and enough time to do it, fine, hire somebody to do it for you. But if you just start now, and you talked about maybe potentially, and I don't know, I can ask you after this, what was maybe the big change for you, the one small thing
Mm-hmm.
that changed you for health-wise potentially.
Yeah.
But it's like if I'm sitting there, and even as a trader or any business, sales business, for example, if that sales guy can learn how to set something up where he's not dialing each number,
Yeah.
and maybe he can figure out coding a little Java applet or something
Or
that
writing each email.
something
maybe?
like that. Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT. So but that's the point. Is that
Yeah.
exists. So maybe you don't learn coding because maybe that's too hard, and probably is.
Yeah.
Probably not, but maybe it is. What about just learning what we just said right there? Why not learning how to use AI, learning how to use what's available to you, then compounding that knowledge? Because the minute you understand, hey, I can get these sales leads into an Excel spreadsheet, which will then phone out for me,
Yeah.
which will then send out automated emails, which at that point, after that, then we can start having a conversation, and you're saving not only you're saving yourself time, but you're becoming much more efficient at all of this.
Yeah.
So just by figuring out how can I use a tool a little bit better, not only are you going to increase and compound the benefits of this said technology, you're also adding to your business by doing really nothing, just having more fun, actually.
Yeah.
Learning new places for your business, growing your business, learning something small, and then figuring out what does that lead me to.
Yeah.
Right? How can I get better? And if I relate it to what we are doing around here, as far as trading, it's like if there's a strategy that I see, instead of myself sitting there staring at the screen, waiting for something to happen, potentially I can get something, a robot, an algorithm, to sort of trade that for me. And then you know what? Instead of me waiting for something to happen, I can then use my time to something else, to a side hustle,
Efficiency.
to say, let me review my investments.
Just
Right.
do more. Yeah.
Or let me go to the gym, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's let me do something better with my time. And why is that happening? Because I've started something today and it's compounded, it's grown into something bigger, but it starts now. And I feel like that's very similar to what we're talking about monetarily.
This is a perfect transition into another topic here, and that is the way that people are able to, you just said, why not learn coding? Why
Mhm.
not learn
Mhm.
AI? The most common reaction I think you're going to get from people when you ask them that question is, oh, it's too hard.
Mhm.
I have X, Y, and Z to do after, work tonight. I don't have time. I'm too tired. There's an endless amount of excuses. And that limiting belief
Mhm.
approach all the time holds people back constantly.
Right.
But if you go back to what we were talking about just a few minutes ago, even if you took 10 minutes, there's so many apps online, for example, right now, where you can learn to code by playing a game.
Right. My kids do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And why not just do one level a day?
Mhm.
Set aside 10 minutes and say, for this 10 minutes,
Right.
I am going to do this.
Because it's too hard.
Exactly.
Right.
But if you break it down, for a lot of people, if you break it down
Yeah,
to
yeah,
just
yeah.
like everybody has 10 minutes, like
I'm
come
just
on.
playing devil's advocate. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
And I think limiting beliefs is what holds everybody back at the end of the day, no matter what you're looking at. If you don't believe that you can accomplish something, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because even if you attempt to do it, the minute you come across something that is an obstacle that is in your way, then you are going to stop and you're going to say, I knew I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I want to run 5K. Well, I could barely run 4K. There's no way I'm going to make it to 5. So that when you get to 4, you're like, oh, that's right. Oh, my God, I can't do it. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. How am I ever going to finish this run? But if you keep on going and you keep on pushing yourself, then eventually you'll get to there.
Yeah.
So if you change that, it's like when you get to 4, you should say, I'm almost there. Not like, wow, I'm completely finished. It's like just one extra little push.
Yeah.
You know, how can I get to that level? That's like, to me, that's what it's all about. It's about thinking positively and starting from a spot of positivity. You know, I can accomplish this. I will do this. You know, when I'm putting money into the bank, I am going to leave it in there.
Yeah.
Not, oh, what if I need it? You have a plan of action and you stick with it. Because if you start from a base of negativity, then you are not going to, I don't care what it is. You know, oh, that woman over there is too beautiful for me, or there's no way I can ever afford that car. Well, right away, you're already telling yourself, you just said no way.
Yeah.
You know, and we sort of said 5 minutes ago, oh, I don't want to start coding because it's too hard. You know, come on. And then you give a perfect example there. And I said, wait a second, my kids are doing it.
Exactly.
So if a 7, 8, 9-year-old, they have something called Code Ninjas. They
Exactly.
literally do that
Play
stuff.
a game. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my kids have I've never even used a 3D printer. They're bringing me home stuff that they 3D printed. I was like, make me a bull and a bear.
That's
I'll put that
amazing.
on my desk. But it's like, that's the kind of stuff. So now instantly they're thinking, I can do this. 3D printing, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 3D printing. That's like intimidating.
And think about the confidence that instills in them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now they can attach this to their businesses,
Yeah.
to whatever life lessons
Just
they're looking
life
for.
approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, start feeling better. So what was your
Well, I was going to mention that you mentioned running, and I have almost a perfect story for that. I heard actually on a podcast an example of this, and then once I heard it, I applied it to myself just to see what would happen. And it was actually very true. The podcast I was listening to, the guy was explaining the simple fact that every morning he would get up and run 5K.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this goal set out that every morning for whatever amount of time he was going to run 5K. And he would put it into his app and put it in his watch, and then he would go for his run. And he found over time that he was getting to a point around 4.5, 4.75. He was really struggling just to get to that 5K. One morning he got up to go for that run and noticed that his watch wasn't working, or his phone wasn't working, or whatever. So he ended up, he's like, whatever, I'll just do the same route I always do. And that should end up being about 5 kilometers. What he noticed was that morning when he went for that run, he got to that 4.5, 4.75, still felt great.
Right.
So the mind is a very, very powerful instrument in that it can work for you, but it can also work against you. I did the same thing. I went to the gym day after, 2 days later, whatever it was, jumped on a treadmill. I did not turn on the actual program on the treadmill to track how far I had gone.
Right.
I just started running.
And then when you felt,
I ended up doing almost 8 kilometers. And I looked up at the clock and I was like, oh my God, I've been here for almost an hour. And I just stopped because I had been there for so long. It was
the time thing.
It was no longer about how I was feeling. It was more about the time thing. So the mind is an incredible instrument from that standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we talk about this all the time. And I even made some notes here. You know, part of what you can do is, and that's great, like running 8 kilometers is huge. Like, congratulations on that. But it can start small. You know, it's kind of what you were saying. Start somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, even for myself, middle of the day, I like to work a little bit in the morning, whatever, get some stuff done, you know, put some trades on, do whatever, look at the markets, and then go for a walk.
It's so key.
You know, just get mental, like get feeling better about everything. Yeah. And sometimes stepping out is nice.
Yeah.
And just compounding on that, because then all of a sudden walks will start to lead to longer walks and will lead to, and then all of a sudden physically you're starting to feel better, and then you're
haven't
changing your habits.
And haven't you noticed that after a certain amount of time of doing that, you almost start craving that? Like you get to a point in the day where you're like, hey,
Yeah.
it's walk time. I got to go.
Yeah, literally like
Yeah.
day, every day.
Which is
No, but
great.
I think that's what you're saying too,
Yeah.
is that it starts small and then it becomes a habit.
Right.
So whether or not it is doing that, whether or not it's eating better, whether or not it's looking every single day at yourself and saying, what can I do differently?
Yeah.
You know, did I have those negative limited beliefs today? You know, like we have a baseball game tonight. I believe it's going to be sunny. The weatherman says maybe differently. But you know what? If I'm thinking positively about this, then I'm going to have a positive outlook. I'm looking forward to something.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I'm automatically thinking, okay, it is going to rain,
Disappointment.
then all of a sudden now I'm just like, oh man, like right. It's
Negativity,
like,
yeah.
oh God, like now it's 2:00 gray. Like I can't believe poor kids. I really want to get out there and play. We want to smoke this team, which hopefully we would do. I just found out yesterday that one of our best players is not feeling too well, so we'll have to deal with that. But that's the whole point: is try to think, and just I think realistic is important too.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to over jump something. Make steps, and then that way, once you cross one line, then like what you said, then the other one. You might have said 6 kilometers. Oh my God! And you look down and it was 8. So it's like you made that move.
Yeah.
Make those moves. Start small. Start with this $1,000.
Yeah.
Start with these walks.
Start with $100.
I don't.
Whatever.
I'm just doing numbers
Yeah,
because these
no,
are
of course,
compound.
of course.
You know, but it's
Yeah.
the same thing. It's like do something different today.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the easiest way to start is exactly what you just mentioned, the belief thing.
Yeah.
Believe you can do something and do it. Just do it. We have the ability to accomplish everything we want to.
One of the things I did at the beginning of this year specifically along those lines was I set, and you and I have talked about this, but I set a notification in my phone on the 3rd of every month. I have no idea why I picked the 3rd. It just happened to be the day that I
Probably
did
your
it.
lucky. What is your lucky number?
No, I think it was the day that I did it the first
Right.
time.
Okay,
So I was
perfect.
it was that day
Right.
going forward.
That's today. Is today the 3rd?
Might be, no, it's past it. I already did. I already did. To every month, put more money into my investment account.
Right.
And it doesn't, it's not about the amount that's going into the investment. It's about just the habit of doing it,
Right.
and doing it, and
Right,
doing it, and
right.
doing it. And my plan is to just in 30 years or whatever it is, then look back and see how it did. But just getting in that routine.
I mean, you and I have gone back to this. You could just set direct deposit, so you don't actually have to do it yourself.
I actually enjoy the,
I know.
the physical
No,
action.
but I like that
Yeah.
too. But that does keep your mental there too.
Right.
So it's like, boom,
You're-
something to do.
You're involved.
I have
Yeah.
something to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Everyone's different.
so, do you ever look at the account balance? You probably do. Like when?
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, as soon as you log in, it's
No, but I
it's
mean
pretty
throughout the month.
From time to time.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
if there's, I mean, I've my investments divided into long-term stuff and then stuff that I'm just playing with.
Right. So you look at the playing.
Yeah,
more.
but it's all in the same bucket essentially. It's just it's two different parts, so you do see it. Let's talk a little bit about the way that we can use debt to increase maybe our life enjoyment, maybe our immediate future. And the example I want to use here is reward credit cards.
Ooh,
Because I think a lot of those
right up
have
my alley.
I think a lot of those have a negative stigma surrounding them simply because
Okay.
let's be honest, they're not cheap. The one I
Pay
currently
like a yearly fee.
the one I currently have is $250
Ouch.
per card.
Ouch.
So my wife and I are paying $500 a year just to have this card.
You need a broker.
So you really have to make it worthwhile over that, calendar period. But the way that we justify it is the one that we chose to get is a travel related
Right.
card. So the way that we justify it is if we look at our entire, call it burn rate
Spend.
over a 12-month period, and you take the potential reward from one of these types of cards and divide it through that spend, you end up with, hey, guess what? We can go on a
$1,000 worth of goods.
we can maybe go on a vacation at the end of the
And
year,
it just costs you $500.
and it costs way less than it would otherwise. So or way less than that $500 fee that we're paying just to have those cards. So yes, there's risk in the sense that, you know, people have to be able to control their
And you have to
spending,
qualify
and
too,
you have to
right?
be
You
able
can't just
to
go and get any
qualify
card at any
for
time.
the card itself. But that type of use
Mm-hmm.
and approach to you using those types of card
Yeah.
can be beneficial.
Yeah, it's like a credit card hack, basically.
Exactly.
It's a hack where you could take advantage of, I mean, here in Canada, there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 probably banks at least that would issue a credit card.
Sure.
I think there's even more in the US, more than that,
Sure.
different cards. I think you just got to be very, very diligent. And I think you have to understand where your strengths and weaknesses lie. If you're able to look at things almost on a daily basis, you're great with deadlines, you're great with reminders, then yeah, you can take advantage of some of these brand new cards that are opening up
Yeah.
that say, hey, 6 months free, no $500, Brendan,
Right.
for the first year.
Sure.
Okay. So then you access the card for the first year, you use all the benefits, and then you cancel it.
Yeah.
But you have to be that person. All right. And I think that that's where it's special that you can either be your significant other, yourself, but set, you know, or just get better at setting these deadlines, these dates where you're saying, you know what, if I'm going to get 2 points for every dollar that I spend, and I'm going to spend, and I know I have a big purchase, this is another hack. If you're going to do renovations in your house and you know that you have a 20,000, I mean, 20,000 might be a lot for a credit card, but maybe a $10,000 purchase or something like that coming from Home Depot, that you're buying a new I mean, you just did this maybe a couple of years ago, new
Yeah.
dishwasher, new whatever you're getting, stove
Yeah.
or whatever, and you're going to be spending that $10,000 or $15,000. Don't take that out of savings. Are you
No.
crazy?
Yeah.
You're already making 5%. We talked about this. You don't need to take that money out of savings. Go to your bank. Say, this is what I'm trying to do. And you know what? There will be either a special on a line of credit,
Yeah.
a credit card, something like that, that they'll say, you know what? Sure, you may have to pay back monthly installments back on this credit card. Pay the minimum balance due. But if it's the right card for you and the math works, there are many examples that
Yeah.
we can go over
Yeah.
that you eventually, and you had a good one there with the travel, that you'll make more money at the end of the day than you wound up spending
Yeah.
on the fees. So I think that that's an option. That's a difficult one.
I mean, you had a good example last episode.
Mhm.
Go back and watch the last episode. The simple fact that you got to a point in life where you were noticing, hey, my wife really likes Starbucks.
Oh yeah.
Maybe I should go and
Oh,
invest
this is like an investment hack.
in Starbucks.
Yes.
I'm going to go to Esso or
So-
name your gas station
Yeah.
on the way home tonight
You
and
invest in
and
ExxonMobil.
fill my car up.
Right.
Chevron, whatever.
Yes.
And
I-
maybe I should own that company
Right.
and have them start paying me.
I'm glad you brought this up because just the other day I was talking about it as well. And it was, we were saying, oh man, oil's going down. You know, like what's going on with my oil investments? What's
Yeah.
going on with energy these days? And then I kind of say, you know what? I have a lot of, not a lot, but I have some money in energy, some stocks like you're just mentioning there, Exxon, Chevron, so that Shell or BP, you could fill up at a BP
Yeah.
station. So if you own BP shares right now, they're going down because energy is going down. But guess what also is going down? The price at the pump. I care more about the price at the pump, and I'll tell you why, because that is disposable income that I'm spending every week. So if I can save, if I can pay $1.50 per liter now as opposed to $1.70, I'm saving 20 cents in my pocket. And you know what I'm doing with that 20 cents, Brendan?
Buying Starbucks.
Incorrect. Buying BP stock. Because the
Ding,
thing
ding,
is,
ding, ding.
as energy goes down, sure, I'm paying less every time I'm filling up my car, but it's also giving me an opportunity to either dollar cost average or go in and use some of the investment strategies and say, hey, look, with the price of energy being so depreciated,
Yeah.
I'm actually getting a 20% discount on share prices. So sure, at the end of the day, you never want your investments to go down, but sometimes you can take advantage of it. And I think that's a good example of that. And you know what? Lower energy prices means cheaper airfare. So that could also be something, right? Because as energy goes down, it's less for flights. Air doesn't have to fill those huge tankers up with huge gas all the time. Oil prices,
Yeah.
manufacturing goes down. So you can take advantage a little bit sometimes of lowering prices by simply buying things when they're low and then investing in the underlying companies. And I actually took that to heart. When I started, we have Rogers, and we might have used this exact example before. And it's just like, if a telecom's going to pay you 5 or 6% in a dividend, they can might as well just pay my cell phone bill.
Right.
You know, because here, if I'm going to spend if I have $100 a month in a cell phone, that's $1,200 in a year. So if I give that to Roger's stock and I just invest there, and it averages 7-8% just in capital gains per year, then you add on a 5% dividend. You're getting like 12, 13, 15%. If it's a good year in the market, maybe more. If it's a bad year in the market, you still get the dividend yield, right?
Sure.
So that's still fine. You still get that dividend. The yield will change. But at the end of the day, you just made on $1,200. If you made 10% between the dividend and the stock going up, that's $120. That's 2 free months.
Right.
Or a little less than that. But the idea is making your money work for you.
Yeah. What if we go expert mode here? What if we go, I'm going to buy Roger's stock for that exact example that you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to pay the other 10 months on my 2% cashback credit card.
Then you're not even expert mode. You're God mode. You ever heard that? My kids go, Dad, I'm cooking or whatever right now. I have this God mode weapon or something like that. Yeah, but that is what it is.
Yeah. And look, that's why we're here. We're here to.
I mean, you could even borrow at 5% and then put it all in that stock. And then
still pay the bill on the 2% cashback card.
And you're still getting some kind of money from everything else.
There's so many of these types of examples, I think, right across the entire.
We're not even talking about house hacking yet.
Exactly. And it goes right across the entire spectrum of life in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, I mean, it depends on what you do, what career path, you've chosen. I've mentioned to you before, my wife is in the medical field,
mm-hmm.
in the health field, has a very scientific type of mind.
Right.
This stuff just is not even a language.
In one ear out the other.
To her, she has just no interest. A.
Good.
And B.
Yeah.
It's difficult for her
right.
to wrap her head around. But health related stuff, she can talk for hours
Forever.
and hours and hours.
She's passionate about it.
But I think there's a lot of people like that in the world who just for whatever reason, maybe it's what they do or how they think, don't take the time to say, I can be doing better financially
mm-hmm.
with very little changes, small changes.
I mean, that's why we're trying to reach out to a brand new audience by doing this.
Yeah.
And I think we're talking about very, very simple ideas, and I think that your wife, lucky enough to marry you, she may disagree. I don't know.
We'll see.
Probably agrees. Has that. So that's good that one of you is doing it, right? And I think that's what's important. So health questions, you go to her.
Exactly.
She goes to you maybe for some financial advice, and then together it's a team. And I think that we talk about trying to leverage time and compound our time.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's super, super important because why would she? And that's why when you said, she doesn't know anything about this, I said perfect. It's because she should be focused on, and by the way, okay, no, that camera's working. Damn it, I thought that one turned off. What she should be focusing on is her core competencies.
Right.
Right? Why would she be wasting her time thinking about this stuff?
Yeah.
When she knows look, everyone has to think about their financials, but it's covered already. And that's part of it. Have a plan. Her plan is to let you handle that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's a plan in place there.
Yeah.
She can now focus on being more efficient, doing other things, running her business, earning her income, whatever she's trying to do, right? She can focus more on that because her head space and that mental space is not all full of stuff that she's not passionate about. Be passionate about something.
And the other aspect of this is it opens the door to upgrades. It opens the door to advantages that you can give to yourself that you might not have
and
been
to
exposed
others
to, and to others, to your family, to your significant other. Like you said.
The more stuff that's in your headspace, the worse it is for you overall.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having productive things in there, but stuff to worry about that maybe is not your core competency.
Exactly. You know what this sounds like?
What?
Resourcefulness.
Well, that is the number one thing that any single person can utilize from themselves.
I started this the conversation by saying we were going to touch on one of the, if not the most key trait that people who want to be successful as a trader can have. And I think, if not the most number one trait that will make you a successful trader is being resourceful. And you touched on a lot of good points in understanding what it is you do well, what it is you don't do well,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to head in that direction.
Right.
So many people get stuck in that vicious circle of what's everyone else around me doing,
Right. And how can
and
I do what they're doing?
and they end up just going from this one to this one to this one to this one to this one, and they never see anything through.
Right.
Resourcefulness is being able to say, here's what I know I'm good at. Here's what I know my friend Sean is good at.
Mm-hmm.
If I need something that I know Sean is good at,
Right. Reach out.
I'm going to say, hey, Sean, do you have a minute? If Sean doesn't have a minute, I'll go
Right.
back to doing what I know I do
Right.
do the best. But being resourceful is very key.
There's really, there's only so many hours in a day. I know that sounds very cliche, but that is true. And I just, as a trader, yeah, you have to be able to use your own abilities from within to figure out how can I maximize my own resources, because not all of us have. We started the show by saying, oh, if you're Elon Musk and you have, $100 trillion and you can just go to the bank and say, give me 100 trillion more.
Yeah. Trillions a lot of money.
Yeah, maybe billion, maybe half a billion.
You think he ends up being the first trillionaire?
I think Mr. Jensen Huang from NVIDIA has the chance.
Did you see he signed a very nice young,
Well, I mean, it's 3 trillion. The
young lady's
what?
chest area
When did he do that?
at a restaurant?
Recently?
I saw an article that said
Not recently.
no, it was. It looked
Okay.
maybe even this week.
Guys out there having fun.
The title of the article was, "You'll know when the NVIDIA top comes in.
Right.
There will be
click.
there will be signs," and it was a picture of him signing.
Yeah, well, it's at all-time highs today. It
Yeah.
just broke through 1,200 and it keeps on ripping up.
Jensen wins.
Always. Yeah, maybe. I think he could be eventually the richest guy. But again, it's all tied to stock.
Yeah.
So I mean, you'll see where that goes. No, I just think that you need to be good at what you're doing and understand what you're doing and understand where your advantages are within yourself and what you can offer others and how to use those resources to get the other resources.
Yeah.
In order to be a great sales guy, you need to be outgoing. So if you are an outgoing person, then yeah, reaching out face to face might be a great opportunity for you. Understanding that, maximizing that. If you're an introvert, then maybe going door to door and introducing yourself to your neighbors might not get you anywhere.
Right.
Because you're not accomplished. So why waste your time doing that? But if you are somebody that likes to do that, then go out, meet these people. Hey, maybe one of them owns a small business that is a passion of yours. Maybe they're looking for somebody. Maybe, so the next thing you know, just because you yourself are a extrovert and you like talking, that can lead you down a path that you might not have known if you didn't utilize the strengths from within. If you're a very analytical person, then yeah, day trading, things like that might be great for you.
Yeah.
Analyze patterns, analyze. But if you're more of an arts kind of guy, like you like the feeling of, then looking at charts, you might be able to see different patterns developing just by looking at charts.
Yeah.
So then I would say you need to then maybe look for somebody that can analyze the numbers to pair with your ability to read the charts
And give you an answer.
and go for it.
Yeah.
So right there, it's just you will then all of a sudden your profits could double by you doing nothing different other than understanding where your strengths were and how to use your strengths to go out and find something else.
You made a great example along that line with your son.
Mm.
What if I got my son, who is efficient in coding,
Right.
very, very good at understanding the financial markets at this point? What if I just get him to write me a simple something
Right. Yeah.
that would take this task off my plate?
That is what I did.
And
Yeah.
no, but the simple idea of I no longer have to worry about this,
Mhm.
so now I can add in something else,
Right.
makes you more efficient,
Right.
more effective, more successful at
Right.
the end of the day.
Understand where you're pulling your resources from and then try to match them with somebody that's also looking for something similar to that.
Yeah.
And then that's how you'll be able to sort of, again, compound. I mean, it kind of all goes back to the same thing. It's if you do what you do better and you just keep doing it and getting better at it,
Yeah.
then at the end of the day, the results will speak for themselves. And when we're talking about resourcefulness, that's what it leads to.
I read a really great book at the beginning of this year that has really stuck with me and really changed the way that I approach not only my day to day around here, but just life in
Mhm.
general. and I highly recommend it to everyone. It's called Who Not How.
Right.
And it's a very simple
Perfect. Is it
statement. It's a
networking,
very
or what is
simple
it?
concept. So many people spend so much of their time trying to understand the how of a problem, where they could simply go and find a who
That's already
that is an
figured that out.
expert in
Yeah.
solving that how problem,
Mhm.
and it would be gone.
Yeah.
So if you just change your mindset to, instead of spending so much time saying, like you said earlier, what if I just learned how to code?
Mhm.
What if you just found someone that was an expert coder already,
Right.
explain to them the concept of what it is you want to do, and said, hey, if you make this program for me to look after this trade idea,
Revenue share.
I'll throw you 2%,
Right. Yeah.
something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Boom, there's your code, problem solved, and move on to the next thing. So many people spend so much of their time trying to understand the how
Right.
of a problem instead of saying who is already an expert, can just solve this problem for me.
So I have a story about that if we have a
Please.
second. So 20 years ago or so. So I'm a big sports guy. Like I love watching sports, playing sports. Used to gamble on sports, still do a little bit, but I'm never a huge gambler. But I like it. Like if I'm sitting there watching a game, I'll drop $20 on something, and not just for fun. So a friend of mine, we got together, and some guy, he said to me, he goes, "Do you know that there's this guy on Twitter that has a service where he wins like 70% of the time? Like, why are we sitting here gambling and losing 70% of the time when this guy right here claims to have 70% winners?"
Right.
I said, "That's great. Maybe we should sign up for this guy." So whatever, first month free, something like that. And then I just, he's sending us the picks. Some are winning, some are losing. But at the end of the day, I realize it's all in the delivery. Why am I making picks? Like when he's sending these picks, it's a little bit of a write-up, and it says, blah, blah, blah. I like the New York Yankees to beat the Texas Rangers because the pitcher is on a 5-game winning
Right.
streak, and
Somebody
blah,
has
blah,
an
blah.
injury.
And yeah, he's a left-handed pitcher, and they pitch really badly against left-handed pitchers. And all he was doing was just outlining what should happen or what he thinks would happen. And this is a decent bet. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, you know what this guy's doing? He's collecting $50 a month
Exactly.
from every single person that subscribes to this. So here we are trying to figure out, if we get 10 of us to subscribe, it's only $5 a month. We'll just forward it to each other. This guy doesn't care, the guy on the other end. So I said, why are we not being that guy?
Right.
But then I said, I can figure out what the plays are. Green Bay Packers -7. Aaron Rodgers playing real well. Might have been Brett Favre at that time. Blah, blah, blah. Bet the Packers. Right? Packers win. Holy crap.
I'm a genius.
I can do this. But then, I don't know how, this was 20 years ago.
Right.
I don't know how to build a website.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm just fresh out of university. Lots of contacts. Know people.
Right.
Hey, dude, whatever. Randall.
Here's
Make up some
$100.
names.
Yeah.
$100. I mean, here's nothing.
Oh.
Let's build this website, and then exactly what you said. Let's do some revenue sharing.
Sure.
The next thing we had. I'm not going to explain the business too much. I think I've already done it.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, we were starting to have people asking us for plays and picks.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, all of a sudden, we went from wanting to gamble to being on the other side, providing analysis to customers that are paying us for this. So we're still gambling on the side, but you know what? We're gambling with their money because
Other people's money.
they're paying us
Yeah.
for our plays. So we use something that I was passionate about. This is a side hustle. It's not my job. This is
Right,
something that I was
of
doing
course.
on the side.
Of course.
So all of a sudden now, something that I'm passionate about, I didn't have the resources to put it together, but we had the idea. It was already something that I'm doing. We were able to put that pen to paper and and have a business out of it that we wound up running. And it was pretty successful. But at the end of the day, my passion is doing what we're doing, trading, investing, figuring this all out. But it's those side hustles and using the resourcefulness of knowing who's around you. Because if I tried to build that website, I would have got frustrated.
Right.
It would have taken me too much time to do it.
Right.
And at the end of the day, to cut somebody in as a partner to grow your business, that's what we should all be doing.
It's a great example. And this can be scaled across all aspects of life.
Completely.
You and I know someone who is successful in life, has had, a great career, very, very successful.
Hopefully a few people we know.
To a certain point where that person has brought a chef into their everyday life.
Mm.
Because to that person, the time that they are able to gain
Right.
from simply not even having food
Thinking
as
about
a
it.
thought,
Right.
and being able to focus then
Yeah.
during that time on
Perfect.
being more productive, and just knowing that at 1 p.m., at 8 p.m., at 8 a.m., I can go to the kitchen
Right.
and I know there
He's
will
not
be
running to the bakery.
no, of course,
It out.
and saying, oh my God, what am I going to make for dinner?
But the key is that he has to be productive in that time.
Of course.
Otherwise, he's just spending money.
But you have to be the type of person where there just isn't enough hours in the day.
Right.
And then you say, okay, what can I replace in my
Mhm.
life with, maybe I have to make a little bit of an investment to replace that.
Right.
But if it gains me that time back,
Right.
that is worth that investment.
I mean, a perfect example. That's a great example as well. And I also think like a company like Fiverr, like they just went on the stock market 5-10 years ago. And I remember seeing them way back in the day. And I think we even talked about it even on Trader TV and things like that. It's like if you're looking for a logo or something like that,
Yeah.
you can just simply, for $5, it's like maybe it's a little bit more, but they can price it out. But for $25-$50, somebody that's way more creative than you or I will develop 10 logos for you, colored everything. $50, $100, 100. Like for me to draw that or to go online and pull it, then I got to worry about copyrights and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like if I can get my mental clear of that, knowing that somebody else is working on it, and I'm going to get an email in 2 days with 5 examples or whatever it is, pick and choose. To me, that's a win.
Yeah.
And so I'm using now technology as a resource to outsource either jobs that I don't want to do myself or jobs that I simply know I'm not capable of being as efficient as others. And I have better things to do with my time.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's the key. It's not just saying, oh, I'm going to get somebody to do this for me. It's you have to be doing something else. Like sleep is important, but you shouldn't be just like lying on a couch. Like if you're able to make money somehow, then I think the alternative is to get someone. If you're making $100 an hour, you can spend $20 an hour for someone to work on something for you that's going to gain an advantage later on. But make sure that you have that base somewhere.
Yeah, buy back that time, as we've been saying.
Time.
Let's wrap this up with a look at trading. And, for those people who are watching this, because like we said in the first episode, they're looking for that something that they can make that change to. They can go in the direction of, I need something else. Maybe it's a side hustle. Trading can be a side hustle.
Great one.
What are some of the key traits that would make trading appealing for someone in that position? Like one of the things I was thinking about just yesterday actually was the simple fact that there's no physical anything involved. You can literally be anywhere as long as you have an internet connection.
Right.
And with that internet connection, get access to the market. There's no physical limitation part of this job.
I thought you were saying you could be like 400 pounds a trade or 200 pounds. That's what I thought you meant physical.
No, I mean we're not walking around with
technical limitations.
Boxes. We're not climbing ladders.
It's not a hard lifestyle. It's not like a blue collar thing by any stretch of the imagination.
I think that opens that simple, very basic, fact opens the door to a ton of people that might not even be thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody ever really thought that trading was going to be. I mean, we're talking about it as a side hustle. So you want to talk about some traits that you're going to need. I think you're going to need to have, and this is a little bit, it's hard to explain it, but you're going to need to have that dog in you a little bit.
Yeah.
Because to work a 9-to-5 job and then to do something after that as well, you need to have that passion and you need to have the drive to succeed at something. Trading is not something that you could just simply say, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of money trading. I'm just going to start to do it. It takes time. And so that's something that you need. You need to have time and patience on your side. You need to understand what you're doing. You need to be able to be analytical, as we've talked about before, understand what strategies you're trying to do. And I think you need to be I mean, I'm going to say the word patient again, and I'm trying to look for a better one, but it's like you have to do your due diligence with trading. And I know that's not a trait, but that has to be in you. You have to believe in the work that you're doing will result in something. And I think that comes from studying and back testing and just a strong belief in the system of the stock market and of trading. Because we're talking about very, very simple stuff. AI is not something that's new, for example.
No.
If you hopped on some of these trends, as far as trading is concerned, NVIDIA is up 30% in a month. We're talking about earning 5% compounding in a year. There are other opportunities out there for people to simply buy and hold things they believe in, things that they're hearing. You want to talk about resourcefulness? Everybody knows somebody that's doing something in trading. Talk to them for 30 minutes. See if something makes sense. Don't necessarily believe everything, but take it in and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to look into that. You know, because Bitcoin is something. You might not want to buy it when it's at its highs, but if you had believed in this when we started talking Bitcoin 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, then you'd have something
Look at
now.
where you'd be now.
If you believed in Windows, Brendan, back in the 1980s, I'm not talking about
Big
those
industry.
nice windows that you have on your lovely condo overlooking some kind of a lake or the street or something.
AF right now.
Right. You might need to replace those windows. But the one thing that keeps getting replaced is Microsoft Windows and investing in that as an early trend. Remember when I ran on Bloor Street, I ran to Rogers, go back to Rogers, to get that very first iPhone, because you know what? I ain't never seen anything with a touchscreen before, Brendan. But you know what else I did?
Look what's happened.
I also put $100 into Apple stock that day. That's the difference.
The other, I think, appealing factor here, and we got to run, so let's wrap this up. But not as
We
many.
got to go to Starbucks.
Not as many people understand it. And
right.
And to full circle this.
That's the resourcefulness part again.
Exactly. To full circle this, if you spend 5% more time than the person beside you learning AI, learning about Apple, learning about Microsoft, learning about any publicly traded company, you're going to be further ahead than a huge, huge percentage of the overall population.
People listening to this is now episode 2.
Yes.
I feel like when we get to episode 50, we're going to be saying the same thing. It's never, ever, ever too late to start.
Yeah. I feel like this was absolutely jam-packed with golden nuggets.
We got more stuff. I mean, I'm excited for episode number 3.
I didn't even get through all of these.
I wouldn't even talk about those house hacking and all that stuff. I want to talk about that later. I want to go more and more.
We'll bring it back.
We're
episode
excited for that.
2.
And we still got to get we got to figure this out.
The neon sign.
If anybody, you're down with the neon sign.
If anybody knows anyone or has anyone that does neon signs,
or like little trinkets. I want to put some little trinkets on you. Put something in the comment. Oh, first of all, like and subscribe.
Do that.
I mean, it's now an hour in, so hopefully we didn't say that before.
Do that.
Yeah, do the like and subscribe, and then put in the comments. Maybe we can put a bull and a bear on here, or like a little surfboard for freedom.
I like that. Little Hawaiian dude.
Yeah, like a palm trees.
Yeah.
I mean,
drink in hand.
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
Everybody's freedom's a little different.
Episode 2, Freedom and Wealth Podcast. We're out of here.
See ya.
Bye.